I used to work as a behavioural specialist at a private school for kids with special needs. The building itself was old, originally a convent back in the early 1900s. It had been renovated and repurposed over the years, but it still looked like something out of a Gothic novel. Stone exterior, tall windows, creaky floors. There were always rumours about the place being haunted. I never believed them. Stories about a janitor who hanged himself in the supply closet on the 3rd floor. About 3 girls who jumped from the windows of that same floor. And about a nun who was supposedly murdered on campus. Typical urban legend stuff kids pass around. But I had keys to every room in that building. I knew what was locked, what was used, what wasn't. The 3rd floor had mostly been shut down. Storage space now. There was one room in particular, room 3C, that was always locked. The principal even told us never to go in there. When I asked why, he just said, "It's not safe. Old flooring." One evening, I stayed late to finish some documentation. Everyone else had gone home. I was sitting in my office on the 2nd floor when I heard what sounded like footsteps above me. Not pacing, just slow, deliberate steps, like someone walking across the 3rd floor. At first, I thought maybe the janitor was up there, but then I remembered he had clocked out at 5. I was the only one left. I went upstairs slowly. The 3rd floor was dark, lights off, quiet. I walked down the hallway, past the old classrooms and supply rooms. When I got near room 3C, I noticed something strange. The light was on inside. That shouldn't have been possible. The breaker to that section had been shut off. That room had no reason to be powered. I tried the handle, still locked. I bent down and peeked through the crack under the door. I could see a faint yellow light and what looked like movement, like someone walking slowly in front of the door. Then the footsteps stopped, and from the other side of the door, I heard a knock. Not a bang, not a rattle, just a soft, single knock. Like someone knew I was there. I backed up and left, quickly. The next day, I asked the principal if anyone had gone into room 3C. He looked surprised. "No," he said. "That room hasn't been opened in years. You'd need a separate key." I didn't say anything else. I've since left that job, but I still think about that night. I think about the sound of the footsteps, the light that shouldn't have been on, the knock, and I wonder if that room was locked, who was inside? A few years back, I worked as a janitor at an elementary school in a small Midwest town. It was an old building, the kind with creaky floors, high ceilings, and long echoing hallways. Built in the 1950s, barely renovated since. I worked the night shift, which meant starting at 4 p.m. and staying until everything was clean and locked up. Usually around midnight, I didn't mind it. The building was peaceful after hours. No kids screaming, no teachers, just the hum of the vending machines and the occasional creak of old wood settling. I had a routine. Start on the east wing, finish with the library and admin office on the west end. I always saved the library for last, not because I was scared, but because it was the cleanest room and gave me time to cool off before clocking out. One night, in early September, I was about 20 minutes from finishing my shift. I had just turned off the lights in the hall outside the library when I heard something odd. At first, I thought it was the PA system glitching, some weird electronic buzz. But then I stopped moving and really listened. It was laughter, a child's laugh, high-pitched, brief, like someone chuckled at a joke only they could hear. I froze. The school was empty. I was the only one on site. I had already checked the doors. They were locked. All the teachers had left hours ago. There was no reason anyone, especially a kid, should be inside that library. I slowly turned the hall lights back on. The sound stopped. I waited. Nothing. Against my better judgment, I opened the library door and stepped inside. The room smelled like old books and dust, same as always. Everything was still. Desks in place, chairs tucked in, nothing out of the ordinary. I walked between the rows of bookshelves. Nothing. I turned off the lights again and stood still, holding my breath. And then it came again, that same laugh. Only this time, it was closer, louder, like it came from the centre of the room. I didn't waste any more time. I left the room, locked the door, and walked straight to the boiler room where the other janitor, Mike, was on break. I didn't want to sound crazy, so I kept it casual. Hey, have you ever heard anything weird in the library at night? Mike looked at me without blinking. You heard the laugh, didn't you? I didn't respond. I didn't need to. He leaned back in his chair. I've been working here 10 years. First time I heard it was my second week, about the same time, near midnight. I thought it was a radio at first. I asked him if he knew where it came from. He shook his head. No clue. We've checked the HVAC, checked for intercom glitches, even replaced a few wires. Happens maybe once a month. No pattern. Always when the building's empty. He paused, then added, no cameras in the library. District doesn't want surveillance where kids read. Privacy, or whatever. That night, I finished my shift with all the lights on. The next few weeks were quiet. I didn't hear the laugh again, but I never stepped into the library without turning on every light first. I still work there, still night shift, still pass that library door every evening, and sometimes, when the halls are dark and the air gets still, I swear I can hear someone breathing softly just beyond the shelves.